always do it, and you will learn and grow from it. There's never going to be a downside. If you sit on the sidelines and just watch, you're going to regret it. So put yourself out there, be brave, and you'll be amazed at what you can accomplish and how proud of yourself you're going to be.
Hello, everyone. I'm Hannah Bloking with 4 Under 3. Sadly, my partner Allison is on an airplane today. She was delayed due to the hurricane, and she is very, very sad to miss this particular episode because we have a longtime friend and esteemed colleague with us today, Amy Ullman. And so just to give a quick background, both Allison and I met Amy working at Sprinkler. That's where Allison and I met too. Sprinkler, I guess, just turns out a lot of really awesome sales engineering women. And Amy's just one of those people that I know when I was brand new to the company, I immediately connected with. I remember she was like the first person to introduce herself to me when I was feeling super awkward and like new at sales kickoff for Sprinkler. And we just remained friends all these years. 10 years? Like 10 years. Yeah.
Oh my word, crazy.
Like 10 years. So we're both a decade older, but also I hope a decade less.
Longer. I don't know. I'm like a fine wine. I get better with age.
You do. So I'm hopeful that I can say the same for myself. But yes, Amy, you get better every year that I talk to you. So without further ado, just want to do a quick introduction. Amy, tell everyone about who you are, what you do, and where you got to where you are today.
My name is Amy Ullman, now Principal Solution Engineer as of August.
Yay.
It's still an adjustment. I still introduce myself as lead all the time. I've been in solution engineering for, I think, almost a decade now. And prior to working in technology and as a solution engineer at both Sprinkler and at Salesforce, I used to be a sommelier. My biggest takeaway for viewers of this podcast is lean into your transferable skills, because 90% of what I love about being a sommelier, I have as a solution engineer. So you never know what career opportunities are just around the corner with those transferable skills. So find the things you love and lean into those.
Oh, I love that. Okay. That's the takeaway for today. That's going to be the first takeaway.
Yep.
And also, sommelier, what a cool skill set that a lot of people do not possess. But part of sales engineering is sales and taking customers out to dinner. You must be quite the party trick, right?
I do. I am a big fan. I'm pretty domineering when it comes to the wine list. I'm like, no, I'll take a look. I'll select.
Okay, well, I'm excited for when you come back to Seattle so that we can make sure we're going out for wine together. And it's been way too long to see each other. But okay, so we're here. We were just chatting about it right before we started recording, but we're here to talk about a very specific topic that throughout the years, both you and I have really talked about, helped each other through.
Absolutely.
But okay, so imposter syndrome, just to start off, because imposter syndrome actually means a lot of different things to a lot of different people we found.
Mm-hmm.
I'll just start off by telling us, what does imposter syndrome mean to you specifically?
It means whenever I hear imposter syndrome, I think of the sinking feeling I get in my stomach when I don't belong here. I don't belong here. I am not good enough. All these people are so much better than me. I do not deserve this. I don't deserve this job title. I don't deserve to be in this space. And I think when I hear imposter syndrome, I immediately think panic and that feeling in that pit of your stomach, because it's a visceral reaction when you have that. I think a lot of people can say it, but I think what really differentiates that from just feeling a little bit insecure or a little uncomfortable is that visceral reaction. Like, I do not belong here. I am an imposter. And that to me is really what differentiates feeling a little bit insecure to full-blown imposter syndrome. I do think of them as being part of that scale. So being an imposter is really just, I don't fit in because for different reasons, but it's usually like I'm not qualified or I haven't met the prerequisites. I didn't meet the pre-work. It's that feeling.
Yeah, and it's so interesting because I know you personally and I know your work ethic, and I know that you not only qualify, but you go the extra mile. You're like overqualified when you come to the conversation, right?
Oh, completely.
Yeah. So sometimes imposter syndrome drives a little bit of maybe perfection and over preparation. Yeah, spending more than you need to. I can relate to that completely. Tell me about a time, maybe you said something recently that came up. You were like, Anna, let's talk about a recent example of when you felt like an imposter. Tell us about that situation and why did it happen?
So I very much went outside my comfort zone. So back to back, we had our Dreamforce conference 2 weeks ago. And that's Salesforce. That's been my world for the last 7 years. That's talking to Salesforce customers about the technology I know really well. And then on the heels of it, this past week, I'm in New York City where I live, but Specifically, I'm here for work for the United Nations Climate Week. And as part of that, I got
Mhm.
drafted to join a panel with Deloitte on the built environment, which is carbon emissions that come from a company's real estate portfolio holdings and investment. And it's a very niche subtopic within carbon accounting, which I'm an expert on because of my software. I don't have a PhD in this. And a lot of the people I was presenting with had advanced degrees or have worked in the environmental engineering space for years. And they consult companies on things like retrofitting and LEED certification and all these things that I really only know about through my work. So I felt completely unqualified. I do not belong here. And what was wonderful about this panel is that I got everyone's names in advance. So I did a little digging, a little research on the work that they had published so I could familiarize myself and make sure that we were speaking the same language. I also got to have lunch with everyone in advance. So it really made me feel a lot more comfortable. And because of my connections with Deloitte, who were familiar with me and my work at Salesforce, I felt like I had some champions in the office that facilitated introductions. And I also knew the questions that were going to be asked. And I knew that I had a unique point of view because I'm the only one that came specifically from the consulting world. And I had a slightly broader perspective on this area. So I was able to add value, thankfully, through thinking through my answers and also volleying off of what other people said and really being able to pivot and have a slightly different answer to make sure that I was adding value. So as the day went on, I felt more and more comfortable and more secure, even though that little voice in my head was being, you don't belong. Thankfully, I suppressed that voice and acknowledged it, said, thanks for contributing, and was able to go on about my day and really enjoy and appreciate the experience.
I love everything that you just said. And first of all, I'm sure you completely kicked ass. Did you kick ass? I think I kicked ass. Yeah. We're right.
It was really fun.
Hey, it's Allison.
And it's Hannah.
We wanted to take a moment to talk about something that affects teens everywhere, imposter syndrome. You know that voice inside your head that says you're not enough? Even when you are, it's time to silence that voice.
In our Fight Your Imposter workshop, we'll guide your team through a 60 to 90-minute interactive session where we'll share strategies to overcome self-doubt and embrace confidence. It's fun, engaging, and packed with actionable takeaways that your team can apply immediately.
So if you want to help your team show up stronger and more confident at work, email us at info@4under3.io.
But something that I think you did very naturally, and I'm sure it's a learned skill over the years, that is actually something, it reminds me of my first conference that I presented at AWS, where imposter syndrome, like I come from a SaaS world, I'm in AWS, highly technical, and I was getting my first talk. And I remember I was like so nervous. There was a big audience. And I remember the presenter before me, he came up to me and he's like, hey, you're going to do great. And he was like, here's something that I like to do before each and every talk that I do. Because he's done like 100 of them or something.
Nice.
And I was like, okay, tell me. And he was like, before you start, go out and introduce yourself to everyone in the audience.
Nice. That is such a good idea.
It's a good idea. And I was like, come on it. So like I started going out and being like, hi, thanks so much for coming to my talk. Where are you from? What's your customer? Where are you from? I'm Hannah. And it like totally humanized the whole situation for me. Yeah.
That actually, I lucked out in that people sitting behind me were actual customers of Salesforce Net Zero Cloud. So I had that without even realizing it. So that definitely might have made me feel more comfortable. It was really nice to have that familiarity. And yeah, it definitely takes it away from being like, here's this block of strangers to, oh, here's human beings. I'm a human being. We can connect around these things we have in common just by existing in the world in 2024. So I think that's great advice. I love that.
Totally. And then like you hear little tidbits. So you're a seasoned presenter. You presented hundreds, thousands of times or whatever at this point in your career. So like when you start to get little tidbits, you quickly, like when you're presenting, if you can personalize, like talk to somebody in the audience that you just spoke to, it's like such a different way to engage. So yeah, no, I love that. Everything that you just said really resonated with me. Okay, so because of our network, Alice and I have met so many amazing pre-sales engineers or people who are in that kind of, atmosphere, like stratosphere. One of the things that we like to do is we like to give one actionable takeaway. If somebody's thinking about, I might have the opportunity to do a conference, but I'm like scared, I don't want to raise my hand, I don't have the right knowledge or background, what would be your one piece of key advice that you would give them?
Go for it. Always go for it. You don't know until you try. And just before this, another person I met this week, I met through a colleague of mine that raised their hand when I didn't. And I got very lucky in that I still got to connect with that person, but I'm still kicking myself about the missed opportunity. And at the end of the day, if you really are not qualified, you might get told, hey, you might learn from it still. You might get told, all right, you're not ready for the speaking opportunity. This is what you can do to be ready for this type of speaking opportunity. Or that person might set you up with another talk or another topic that you're much more natural for. But you won't know until you try. And it's that pushing yourself that is going to not only make you better at whatever job you have, but is going to help you grow and develop by putting yourself in those uncomfortable situations. So always do it, and you will learn and grow from it. And that there's never going to be a downside. If you sit on the sidelines and just watch, you're going to regret it. So put yourself out there, be brave, and you'll be amazed at what you can accomplish and how proud of yourself you're going to be.
Yeah, and something else that I think is a quality that you possess too, not just being brave and putting yourself out there, but it's like persistence. Persistence. You're very persistent, and I think that is something that it's a quality that not a lot of people actually have. When you start to look at like the broader people that you know, community people, like you have to be persistent, and you'll get there. I totally agree. Amy, it was so amazing to have you. I know Allison cannot wait to catch up with you. Thank you so much. Oh, and so by the way, this is going to be on Apple, Spotify, LinkedIn. So if you have any for Amy, if you have any questions for Amy, leave the comment here. Also, we'd also love to hear from you if you have any speaking engagements coming up, if this advice helped. Thank you so much, Amy. It's so good to see you.
It's great to see you too. Thank you so much, Hannah.
Okay, bye.
Thank you for tuning in to this episode of Imposter Talks.
Subscribe, like, and review our podcast on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. And please follow us on LinkedIn and YouTube at 4under3.
And we want to hear your imposter story. If you're interested in being a guest, please email us at info@4under3.io. Thanks so much.